So we'll continue on with our study of Proverbs, ladies and gents. Last week we were kind of finishing up chapter 2. I'm really trying to be as thorough as I can be, but I also know that if I talk deeply about every verse, we'd be here all day trying to get through one. So I kind of have to pick and choose on how we do that. Let's go to chapter 3 of Proverbs. And I'll read the first 4 verses real quick. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck and write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. First thing I put on here, it starts off my son. And as a father, I try so hard to plead with my kids. Just listen to me try to tell you how life works, or just how whatever you're doing. And the thing with whatever happened at Master Club last week with my son Alex, he got upset or something, right?
Oh, okay.
Everyone couldn't do something because of my leg. And I'm like, so wait, somebody was trying to help you out and you took it as everybody else is doing, like, you misunderstood the situation, son. And he's just mad at himself and he's in tears and completely.
I wanted to re-talk to him again because it wasn't even him.
But
I didn't even want to play it solo.
I kind of figured by some of the other comments, but it was like, I knew he misunderstood the situation. But man, he did not. He took it personal that everyone's going to be mad at him forever and ever and ever about this thing. I said, no one's going to even remember what game that you did or didn't play that day.
If anything, they all put it on me. They were like, "Who's to blame?" I was like, "Okay."
I mean, that's typically what happens, right? It happens at work. It happens when you play in a team. Coach doesn't let you do something. God, this guy just sucks. He doesn't let me do anything fun. Parents suck. They don't let me do anything fun. Yeah. Anyways, but kids just misunderstand things, and to me, kind of the Proverbs is more like a parent trying to explain these things to their kids. Like, listen. Let me try to tell you a couple of things about life. That it's not all what it's cracked up to be. That's for sure. Sorry, kind of lost my thought there. So, right, we go back here and we let not mercy and truth forsake thee, bind them upon thy neck, all that. It just, like I said, it just happens so often where somebody's trying to explain something to someone who just has no understanding of the situation and they just seem clueless, right? And that's where we're trying to be, where we're not the clueless person, where we're trying to listen and wait. If I stop for a second and listen to what people are actually telling me, am I missing something? Because sometimes that's the way it is, because we're so caught in our ways that this is how things work. I do it all the time in my house where I think it's this and my wife's like, no, it's that. And my kids are like, no, it's this. And it's like, well, who's right in this situation? Because we're all different and we're all somewhat right, but we're all somewhat wrong too. Wisdom is pleading to us, telling us what we want to hear, that we'll find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man, right? That's what we want, right? We want to find favor in God's eyes. We don't want to be in trouble, right? We don't want other people to look down upon us. I don't ever want to go to work and have people just hate me because, I'm just I do whatever I want to do. Like, that's just not who I want to be. But I also know that some people are just going to hate me because we just don't see eye to eye. And that's okay. It took me a long time to realize that. I used to think that if a coach didn't like me, there was a problem with me. And then I realized that, no, that guy just has problems. Has nothing to do with me. Let's turn on to verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. That's a big word right there. Trust. I kind of looked up the definition of trust. Assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. One in which confidence is placed, dependence upon, and then like hope for the future. So hope, right? Trust. Trust is a lot like faith. We're supposed to have this. We're supposed to put all our trust in God, and it sounds so easy, but it becomes so difficult. At least for me, it was so difficult to Everybody says trust God. Everybody just keeps saying that, and I don't even know what that means. Because in my mind, I have bills and I have things I want to make myself happy, right? I want to be a happy person. So I have to do things that make me happy, but then I have other people I need to make happy, and then there are other things I have to do because I have to do. Where in that am I supposed to be trusting God? That's where I found the difficulty. Yeah, my pride just got too much in the way. When you really break it down, that's really what got to me. And that's really what this is talking about when it talks about trust. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, right? That's not some of yourself. That's not a part of you, right? That's all of you, giving all of yourself to God. That is not an easy task for anyone to do, but once you do it, right, then you will start to do things that are just unbelievable. And lean not unto thine own understanding. Pride right there, right? Because we have a way. We have things we have it figured out. So why are we trying to trust God when we're doing it ourselves? Most of the people that I've met in life and then I've really talked to about living life and making decisions, they don't really trust God, right? They trust their paycheck, they trust the bills, they trust their 401k, their family, right? They're trusting all these other things. They're not really trusting God for much of anything. But yet they're claiming to be Christian and claiming to love God. And man, they would quote this verse like anybody else, but they're not really trusting in God. And this is trying to tell you that that's what you need to do. And lean not to your own understanding. Verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Right? Why? By acknowledging God, then God will direct which way to go. This verse has a deeper meaning for me because when I went to the camp that I went to after I got saved, this was the verse for the verse 6 was the verse for the camp because it was direct thy paths, and there was a director, it was a movie set, and they had the pastors all come in a limo and all tuxedos. It was like this, the stars, because they were directors, trying to do, I don't know, it was a theme for a camp for kids. So I get it. But it was the first time really in my life that I was able to step away from the world and go to like a camp or something and really just try to understand what this whole thing is about. And it was a time when God called me into some type of service of ministry, right? That was a big moment in my life that I don't think I was ready for. But anyways, so that's why that verse has more meaning to me. And that wasn't even in my notes. So now what? But anyways, verse 7, be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Sorry. I have my notes backwards here because I have a couple good notes in here on, pride. And pride is the foundational sin. That's what brought Satan out of heaven, was pride, because he wanted to be like the Most High. And then the other angels must have somehow believed whatever he told them that, he's not getting a fair shot, and they all got kicked out for the same thing. Isaiah, and then Isaiah, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nation? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And we heard from Pastor, a couple weeks ago when he talked about the Most High? Was that last week? Now my weeks are confused. But no one is like the Most High, right? God, Pastor has made it very clear. God's names are very clear. He is one in himself. So for Lucifer to think that he would be like the Most High is just pride, right? He thought he was something that he wasn't. And that's the danger of most of our lives, is we think we know it all. So we lean on our own understanding, right? We're wise in our own hearts because we know what we're talking about. And half the time we probably don't. And me included, right? I may think something on a situation that I have no idea about. Come to find out, I was completely wrong. So these days, I don't really give my opinion on something I know nothing about. Like football. right? I love football and I know the game of football, but I don't pick teams who win. I don't say what player is going to be great because I have no idea what their game plan is for the week. I don't know if the guy's hurt or anything. I don't know any of those things, nor do I want to know. So I'd have to know all those things to even make a somewhat of an educated guess. Other than that, I'm just guessing, right? But people have fantasy footballs and that's their whole thing, and they are an expert. That's like, man, you're just gambling and you just happen to be winning. And I hope one day you don't lose it all. All right, let's move on to verse 8. And it shall be, verse 7 says, be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Right, so we're supposed to humble ourselves before God. Understand who he is, right? This part right here reminds me a little bit of Job. Turn to Job 38, verse 4 real quick. It's not going to click? Okay, fine. Sorry. It says, where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Right? God is telling Job, where were you when I started all this? Now you read through 38 and 39, and God's just going to lay it out. Where were you when I did all of these things? When I set this and I did that and I did all these things, where were you? Right? Job has no answer for that. When you get put in that place of, oh, okay, I see where I am now. Right? That's a fear and an understanding of God that we need to have. That's a healthy fear and understanding of God. Because that's who he is, right? We are but nothing. We are but dust, right? We are just a speck on this planet of time. So when we fully understand that, it helps us to humbly come before God for whatever it is we need, and he starts providing because that's just who God is. Verse 8, and it shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones, right? It's going to be healthy for us, right? We all understand what that means. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruit of all thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. That goes right back to the stewardship, tithing. You reap what you sow, right? That's what's going to happen. That's another promise of tithing right there. Verse 11, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. Again, like a parent talking to their child, saying, listen, I'm going to have to correct you sometimes, but don't get upset. Don't get bothered by it. Just try to grow from these experiences. I try to do that with my kids. Like, it sucks to punish your kids when you know they want to do something so much fun. Or go spend the night at somebody's house, but you were busy trying to look up something before. It's like, no, you're not going over to someone's house who has no parental vision over their electronics when you're currently trying to find out what women's bodies look like, right? But that's what kids do. That's a kid type of thinking. I know that had nothing. You're like, what did that have to do with anything? Not gonna say names, but there was a child who did that and who was trying to, but thankfully we have so many blockers on everything that for a guy, and pornography is just so deadly. If you get involved in it, it's so bad that I want to protect my sons as much as I can because it's not worth it for them. Anyways, for whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth. Right, just as I say. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her. See, this is where I got confused. I kept thinking this meant I got more money the wiser I got. Right? But that kind of factors in my head, like, well, if it's better than rubies, then I should have some money, right? I should be making a little more money or something than this. And that's not, it's more precious than that, right? It's more valuable than the money, because money comes, money goes. Money is not really a thing, right? We shouldn't make it more than it needs to be. Wisdom, on the other hand, can help us, keep us from evil, right? Keep us from wicked people, keep us from places we just should not be in. And a lot of times you don't know until you're there. Oh, I shouldn't have been here. There was key signs before of the person, but I was in a situation once where I was in college, I was on a date, and yeah, I know, it gets better. So, and at this time, she wasn't ugly, but she wasn't like, wow, like drop dead 10, gorgeous. So she was okay. And we were going to a party, and I was going to try to stay sober that night because I wanted to take it a little more serious. I didn't want to just get drunk and whatever. So we go to this party, we're kind of hanging out, and then we go into a room, and there's people just hanging out, right? And then a couple people leave, and then all of a sudden, she pulls out like this wallet or something, and pulls out white powder stuff, pulls it on the thing, gets a card, rolls up, looks at me, you want to try? Or you want some? Good, I'm good. Good. Not tonight. No, it's not really my thing. Well, yeah. Now, I was wise enough at that moment to not take part, but had that lady caught me a couple years earlier, I would have been more than willing to try it because I wanted to. So there was a period in my life I really wanted to try Coke. And a lot of friends I had were involved in that. Why? I don't know. Okay. When you have nothing going, you just reach for anything. That's what I think it comes down to, right? You're just looking for anything to satisfy, anything to make you happy, because everything else is such a mess. What's the point? And that's where my life was, because it seemed like it almost didn't matter if how drunk I got, how high I got, how whatever, right? It didn't. Yes, I ruined my life, but other than that, I was already ruined. It's kind of like writing bad checks when you already have bad credit. And everybody's already after you. What does it matter to you now? I don't care. Like, yeah, take that. As long as I can get food today, or as long as I can get what I need now, it doesn't really matter. But we all know it does, right? We all know that. The whole point of the girl pulling out the dollar bill, I'm pretty sure that's what she pulled out to roll up. I had no idea that was going to go that way. But from the outside, you might say, well, yeah, you met some random chick at some party and got her number, and then you were drunk. She was probably drunk or high, and then you called her up later and you went to the same kind of party. You didn't think something similar was going to happen? Like, well, yeah, duh. But I didn't, at the time, I wasn't thinking that. Of course, I wasn't saved either, so I wasn't really looking for it. I might have been saved. That's a whole new one. Proverbs is going to continue on here and just give you over and over again why wisdom is so valuable and so important in your life. But I'm not going to break all of this down. We'll end right here. I feel like I got the point across, right? Now, it's not just me. You could have your parents, you can have other teachers, or even most of the time it's not your peers who are the people with the wisdom in your life. Just the way it is. You got to have someone who's been to that spot before, or who's going where you want to go. Those are the people who are going to have the better wisdom that you're going to want to follow. Listen to those people when they're talking to you, and if they're not talking to you, maybe ask them some questions. Find something that you want to know from them, and ask and start to gather wisdom, little nuggets here and there, things that could save you, right, from some trouble. You never know what kind of things will come up, but it's always good to know a little nugget or two about, like, teaching, if you wanted something like that, or you wanted more into retail, or you wanted to do something and someone's already been there, man, ask those people those questions. Thank you guys for listening so well, and have a good week.